Hey everyone, it's Sarah here with Virtual Biz Partner, and I'm trying something a little bit different here going forward. I am going to be doing some videos like this where I'm going to keep them short, try to be like maybe 5 to 10 minutes, but do some video tutorials and trainings and sending these out to you guys instead of the written content that I've been doing, because what I find is that I would much rather speak, whether it's on a video like this or just audio, rather than write. And so if me getting things sent out depends on my writing, it's not really going to happen. So we need to play to our strengths, and so I am doing just that. So if you guys are new to me, you may not know everything I do in my business. I do a couple different things. On one side, I work with clients, sometimes short-term, sometimes long-term, as their online business managers. I will help with many aspects of the business and growing it and helping them get amazing things done so they don't have to do it by themselves. And then on the other side, I train women how to become a virtual assistant. Usually it's moms that are wanting to work from home and they're not really sure what to do. Maybe they've heard of a virtual assistant, maybe they're new to it, but it's a great option. So I do those two things. I do a lot of work with systems. I work with some clients just getting short-term systems and strategies into place into their business. But really in all of that, I help everyone with planning. And this time of the year is a time when I'm helping my clients do their planning. And I like to take a little bit of a different approach to planning. I think sometimes when people hear that word, they maybe cringe a little bit and even think it's kind of boring. It's not boring, and there is a way you can do it that really works for you and is making your business work for you. I think sometimes when we sit down to do our planning, we maybe do what we think we should be doing as far as the planning of the projects and different things, but it's not really what feels right to us. So some of the things I'm going to go over are going to help you with that. So I'm going to give you kind of 3 main tips on what I use for my planning, and then of course you could go much deeper with this, but I just want to give you enough to get started and you can do what works for you. I am going to share my screen a little bit to show you some of the things that work for me, and send you some resources along with this as well. So when I think of planning, when I'm talking about that, just so you kind of have some context here, I am talking about the entire year, planning for the entire 12 months, but then we're going to look a little more specifically at the next 90 days and breaking that into detail. And again, this is exactly what I do for my clients that I'm working as their online business manager. So, I mean, I'm sharing with you what I do. It works. And so I suggest you give this a try for yourself. So my first tip, this actually has nothing to do with planning your projects. It's first to figure out your schedule. And I'm going to share my screen here because I have pulled up my schedule. So when I'm talking about a schedule, you don't have to make this too complicated. I'm just sharing with you guys my Monday through Friday, because I don't consider, so when I say schedule, I'm really referring to your business schedule. And again, if you guys have questions, feel free to leave them below on this video or hit reply to this email, whatever, and I'll get back to you if something's not clear. But basically, I consider Monday through Friday my business, the days I work in my business. So I'm not putting the weekend. And the reason I want you to look at your schedule first is I find when people do planning, they tend to plan for too much. They do too many projects. They don't realize what all goes into it. And they're not creating the plan based on how much they actually want to work. So that's really important, because what you're going to find happens with your business is as you start a business and you're growing it, there's more and more that needs to be done. And if you don't think about what you really want in your business and how you want to feel, you're going to end up building a business that isn't in line with what you want. And you're going to find that you don't reach your goals, you don't accomplish what you want, because those things you planned and the goals you set don't really match what you want deep down. So the first thing in planning, my first tip of the 3 tips, is to create your schedule. So you can do whatever works for you. I love Google Docs. I just went in, I basically created my hours. My day, I don't like to get up really early. I have tried it. I have tried the 5 a.m. I've tried 6 a.m. I've just given up. It's not going to happen. So my day starts by getting my son ready for school. Obviously, in the summer, this changes a little bit, but I'm still going to primarily keep the same thing. I may just get up at the same time and use that hour for something else. So anyways, you can see here, it's pretty simple. Like, yes, I put breakfast on my calendar because it can be easy to start your day and like skip eating, and that's really important. So journaling every morning, I want to do that first thing, learning, and then I specify between my business work and my client work. So you guys can play with that, whatever, depending on the type of your business, you may have a different structure. And then I've really been trying to make exercise like a daily part of my routine. And again, I tried waking up early doing it. I tried late in the day. I've decided I'm going to do it around my lunchtime. I may do it before, I may do it after, but again, it's scheduled in here. And then more client work. You may see I have emails listed at 4 p.m. I actually check emails in the morning. I usually do it when I'm like starting my work. So whether it's my business or my client, whatever. Basically, I put that, the reason I put it at the end of my day is that I want to check emails and respond to whatever I need to respond to at the, at the end of the day. And sometimes it may take, 30 minutes or whatever. So this is like a rough outline. And then my Fridays are different. And I just want to mention the only reason my Fridays are different, I'm a single parent and I have my son 100% of the time. And so what I was finding is that I was getting frustrated just overall in my life because I felt like I never had time for me. Because on the weekends, I have him all the time and I need some time for just me. So I am making it a goal to take off like half of my Friday. It may be the morning, it may be the afternoon, I don't know. But basically this is just to note like half a day off. And I put movie at home or spa, like I can make it a massage, I may read, I don't know, it really doesn't matter. It's just in my brain, if I know that's happening, then it's, currently I do work, like this isn't my exact schedule. This is like for next year, what my, my goal is, and this is what I'm working towards. I do often work up until about 5 p.m. My goal is to stop earlier because my son, I get him at 4 and anyways from school. So then what I did was I totaled what my client hours come to and what my work hours come to. So again, this is going to be, what this tells me is, okay, this is how many I work in my business. This is how many I have for client work. So now you kind of know how much work you can actually fit, projects you can plan, and then it also will help you know what to delegate. So anyways, I'm not going to go any more into this schedule. I'm going to leave it to you to, structure your own if you want more detail. I don't really suggest any less than this. I think you need to at least have this much on there, but you're more than welcome to go into detail. And then I can touch on this in the future, but then like this schedule will be in my on my Google Calendar and some other things. So the second thing I want to talk to you about is money. That's my second tip. Now I don't have, I'm trying to think if I have a spreadsheet. I actually, you know what? I think I do have something because I really don't want to show you my exact numbers of like my expenses and all that. My expenses are not that high, but what I do want to show you, let's see, I'm just going to stop the sharing for a minute. You can look at me. So the one with money, basically I was going to show you a spreadsheet that has my, I'm not going to worry about pulling it up right now. I was going to show you a spreadsheet that lists an area to fill in all of your expenses. So the second part of this is I want you to figure out how much money you actually need. Because the other thing I found when people are doing planning, like I said, planning has to do with goals. They plan these like money numbers, but there's no reason behind it. There's nothing, it's not like, it's usually way more than what they need, and they're not breaking down the math, and so they never hit that number. So my point is for step 2, what I want you to do is I want you to list all of your expenses. I want you to list, so that's your personal expenses, your housing, your utilities, whatever, business expenses, any money that goes out on a monthly basis. You need to get that number figured out. And again, you can, I usually use a spreadsheet and I list the numbers. I really start as simple as possible. And then, add a buffer in there of 10 or 20%, depends how much, because there's always maybe unexpected little things that come up. You don't want to figure your budget to where it's like to the penny and then you have no wiggle room. And then once you get that number, then you can figure out, okay, if I want to have some extra on top of this, what would that be? So let's say, your monthly expenses come to $2,000 for your personal, and I'm just using this number because it's easy, but $2,000 for your personal expenses and your business expenses. And then you'll want to multiply that times 12 and make sure you have your buffer in there. And so then that's the number you need at least for the year. So if we had 2,000 as to cover your expenses, business and personal, and let's say I had that 10% buffer in there, and we multiply that times 12, we've got 24,000. So you need that. Obviously, you're going to want to make more money than that. So maybe if you need 24,000, maybe your goal is going to be 50,000 for next year. Double that. And then once you have that number, then what I do is, if you already have products and programs and services, things you sell, figure out how much of those you need to sell. So I work backwards, and once I have that number, I work backwards. I'm not going to go into a bunch of detail on that. My main point about this second tip was getting that money number, and you can figure out how to break down your products, what that means. But basically what we're doing here is you need to get so clear on those numbers that you know what you need to be bringing in on a monthly basis and what's going out on a monthly basis. And if you're setting some income goal, like let's say, 50,000 would be great. It would cover expenses and the extras. Well, if you're saying, I want to hit 6 figures this year, I want to hit 100,000. Well, why? What's the motivation behind that? And have you actually done the numbers to see what you need to sell? So do those numbers, figure out how much you need to sell of your different products and programs, because then step 3 is the planning. And that is where you now take that schedule you created, how many hours you can work, and you're now taking those money numbers, and now you have a foundation to do your planning on. So I suggest 1 to 2 projects per quarter. I know you may not like that, but that's what I suggest. And I'm going to want you to break out January, February, and March in detail. The rest of the year could just be like bigger milestones. You can in fact just list the projects that are going to happen. Like if you have a website, you're going to need to plan more ahead. That one is, because you're going to have to hire someone and all that. But basically what I do, let me share my screen again to show you where I go. So I go to, what I like to do is I'm a very, not calculator. See, I cannot talk and type at the same time. I went to one the other day. I think I did. Really doesn't. No, it's not that one. Printable calendar templates. We'll just go here. So that's what I do. I just look for printable calendar templates, and I print off January, February, and March. So obviously for the correct year. Because what I like to do is I like to have these. I'm just going to click on it and see if it shows it bigger. I do choose to have the holidays on it, so depending on where you live. I like for my week to start, what, I have my calendars here. Let me see what I printed. I have it where it starts on Sunday. So that's what I do. I like the holidays, and then I start writing in detail on this paper calendar. So if I know I have, emails going on a certain day, think of your repetitive things that go out in your business. So if you have emails, if you have blogs, if you have social media, in fact, some people like to batch their work. So if you batch blogs and you work on them twice a month, put that on there. So put everything on your calendar that I consider the foundational type things. And again, a lot of people miss that when planning. When they're planning, they're thinking of these new projects, and they get so excited, and you put all these details on here of these new projects, but then you weren't thinking about all these other kind of like maintenance tasks that you need to do to keep your business going. So you should have everything written on this paper calendar that needs to happen in your business for January, February, and March of 2018, not 17. So you're going to do that, and then I'm not going to keep sharing that because I think you get the idea to print that. So anyways, you're going to print that out, you're going to write those things, and then now is when you're going to need to set a chunk of time together. It depends how you work best. If you want to set aside a whole day, if you want to do a couple hours, if you don't like to focus like super long, if it wears you out, you want shorter chunks of time. But basically, you're going to take that schedule you made, you're going to take those money numbers you came up with, and then you're going to take that calendar, and you're going to start figuring out, okay, here's what has to be done. Here's my new projects, and figuring out what days, when things are happening, if it's, client work, whatever you have to get on that calendar. And then now, now you know the hours you can work. And so it's like, okay, do you need to delegate to someone? What is your team doing? If you don't have a team, then you may need to think about outsourcing something. If you aren't going to outsource, then you're probably going to have to sacrifice, maybe do one project instead of two. So go through that planning, write those details out, and then the next step is going to be getting that set up into Asana. But we're not even gonna go there right now. But those are my 3 tips for planning. You are going to create that schedule, your ideal schedule, be realistic about what you're actually working, and then you're going to create those money numbers and figure out how much you need for next year to pay your bills, and then having a buffer, and then, you know, adding an extra. Obviously, you want to keep growing each year, so you want your business to be making more than it was the previous year. And then the third piece is printing out those calendars and actually writing on them all the things that need to be done in the business, for the maintenance type stuff and then the new projects. So do that, and I will follow up with you guys. I'd love to hear if you have questions, if you have challenges, let me know. And in fact, the more questions, the better, because I'll know some additional videos to make you guys. I already know some I'm going to talk about, but I would be more than happy for suggestions on what you guys would find helpful. And until next time, bye.